Welcome to Ntiva's webinar for October 2024. I'll be your host again, Ted Brown, Director of Product Management here at Ntiva. And today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Copilot for 365 and specifically Teams and Outlook to help you visualize the transformation power of Microsoft Copilot for 365, designed to revolutionize the way you work by streamlining your daily tasks and allowing you to focus on what truly matters. Imagine waking up every morning and managing your communication and collaboration through smart suggestions and automatic routines. This AI-powered assistant integrates seamlessly with Teams and Outlook, providing a dynamic toolset to boost your productivity. Embrace the art of possibility with Teams and Copilot in Outlook and experience a more efficient, prioritized workday. And as mentioned, we're going to get into a little bit of how to use Microsoft Copilot with Outlook and Teams. But the first part of the agenda I want to get into is a little bit of the pricing details that was announced in June to kind of show that there is some new add-on options in here so you can put Copilot with different types of licensing sets that are out there. And let's jump in. Perfect. So Microsoft Copilot for 365 still costs the same way and still purchased the same way, which means it is a $30 add-on license that you have to pay annually all up front. So it's a 12-month contract. So you have to pay $360 for each Copilot license you want to add to your organization. That part has not changed. I do foresee Microsoft changes in the near future, but no announcement has been made. And once that does, we'll be the first to announce it to you. However, there was some licensing adjustments out there that was put through around the June timeframe, as I mentioned. Previously, with Microsoft Copilot, you had to have a business standard, business premium, an E3, E5, or Microsoft E3 or 5 to attach the Copilot add-on to it. Microsoft opened this up to allow you to put Microsoft Copilot to a wide range of different licensing types. So if you have a user that has a Exchange Plan E1, go ahead and put it on there. Exchange Plan 1 works, SharePoint Plan 1 works, OneDrive Plan works. I put the whole list here of all the different add-on options out there that might work with you so you can add Copilot to these types of users. Now, some of these licensing types are a small segment. So if you use Microsoft Exchange Plan 1, you only have Exchange available to you within Microsoft 365. So utilizing Copilot will only really work with that licensing type. So it won't give you Teams, it won't give you Word or anything along those lines, but you can use Copilot to summarize your meetings or summarize your summarize emails that come through. So you can use it in that capability, but it does not give you the full-fledged aspect of Copilot because you don't have the other applications available to you because the license you have doesn't allow that to be brought to you on your computer itself. So while it is an advantage to be able to put this there on the add-on, there is probably some cost components out there that might be more advantage of using maybe a business basic and having that put on there and utilizing Copilot because you get the wide range of using with SharePoint, Teams, and everything along those lines. So if you have any questions about licensing types and what it can do for you, please reach out to your account manager in Ntiva and we'll definitely help you point in the right direction. So now let's do all the fun stuff. So Microsoft Copilot for 365 and Outlook. So I'm going to go ahead and do a bunch of demos. So it's not going to be a PowerPoint driven presentation here, but I just wanted to make sure we have cover a little bit of highlights on here. So the first part one is we did mention one of our last webinars we did that Microsoft Copilot for 365 is available with a classic Outlook. When Copilot was launched in the February timeframe, you had to use the new Outlook. Now, the new Outlook is coming. It's something that Microsoft pushing everyone to go to, but still people enjoy the classic look. And so Microsoft Copilot does work with the classic look. However, it does have some limitations. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at what that is. So let me bring you over. So here is my Outlook right here. And you can see here, this is the classic view at the top here. It says try new Outlook, which I'll press here in a second. But right now, this is just the classic look of how people are probably used to utilizing your Outlook today. Now, right off the bat, I'm in a message right here, and I see a button called Summarize. I don't see any other Copilot up here, but I do have a Summarize meeting here. So I can go ahead and summarize the email itself. And that's one of the benefits of utilizing Copilot with Outlook. I can have a long email chain here that gives me a whole bunch of information. And maybe I don't want to go ahead and read through it all. I'm just going to have Copilot summarize it for me. So I'm going to hit Summarize. And so it summarizes the email, brings in some of the information that I want to find out about this email itself. So then if I wanted to, I can go ahead and click Reply. And with Reply, you can see now I have a little Copilot button up here at the top. So when I click Copilot gives me some ideas of what I want to do. I can draft with Copilot and coaching with Copilot. These are foundational items in Copilot and Outlook that has been there since the beginning. So really nothing different with this aspect. So if you want to draft the Copilot, put here, please ask for a follow-up and generate. Now hit generate. It'll give me an idea of kind of what I should say when asking for a follow-up here. Please prompt response, want to follow up. Okay, that looks kind of good. Let's add in here. Please give a deadline. And go ahead and select this. Redraft it with my suggestion of how to change it. And you can see here by the end of the day. Now I can go ahead and adjust, make it shorter, make it longer, make it more formal, and kind of go down from there. And these are all the functions that have been there really since the beginning of Copilot, utilizing it within Outlook itself. So very handy. Recommend giving it a try. It's a good way to kind of get some emails started if you're kind of not figuring out what you want to say, and then build upon from there. But that's pretty much the basic stuff you see within the classic ribbon. So it gives you all that functionality there. However, there is more rich features available to you when you click the new teams. So I'm going to go ahead and click the new teams and let this download. It's really a quick process. I've been utilizing, well, I want to take full advantage of all the items that were in Copilot when it came out in the February timeframe. So I switched over to new teams, and I believe we'll probably have a webinar just strictly around how to use the new teams. But it takes a little bit getting used to because it's definitely a little bit of a different look, has a different calendar functionality, different manage your contact functionality. But once you get through the differences of the UI, I find it a lot more useful, and I do enjoy utilizing it on a daily basis now, and I always use the new Outlook. So let's go ahead and switch to it. So I'm going to switch to it. It's going to open me back up. Coming right up. All right. So let's go ahead and go into my demo folder. All right. So I'm right back to where I was on the new view. You can definitely see it looks definitely a little bit different. And it doesn't quite have the same buttons you saw here before with the classic version of Teams. I do have Summarize from Copilot right at the top. So I can click this button right here, and it will do the same thing and bring in the information in a different type of format. So, but the best part about what I like at this is for the Summarizing Copilot is it doesn't give me just the information based on what is in this email here. It will go through and scour other emails that you have that you might have sent out, other replies and things that might not be contained within this actual thread right here, and bring all that information into the summary. So if it has other key points, it will let you know throughout your entire mailbox to bring it in here so it can kind of summarize it in a concise manner and make sure you see the full picture of what's going on. So I find that very important to me. So with the other piece with the new teams here is, well, let's go ahead and take a look. So we have the categories that goes a little farther, and the simplified meeting schedule with Copilot is one of the more important features to me. So I don't know if you guys have problems trying to find schedule with people. People are meeting all the time, or it's definitely something that's going on there in the industry. People have back-to-back meetings all day long. So when you have 4 or 5 people on a thread and trying to find a meeting time, it could take significant amount of time to actually find where that actual meeting fits into your busy schedule. That's where Copilot comes in. So now let me go ahead and exit out of this. So I have a meeting with 3 other very busy people. And at the top here, I want to schedule a meeting. I hear schedule with Copilot. I'm going to go ahead and click schedule with Copilot. And it'll go out there and use the scheduling system and find the best time available for all of us right here. And then it goes a step further. Not only will I have to find the window of time available for all of us, it will put in the agenda and summarize the information that we had in this email right here. I can insert this and send it over to them, and I'm all set. I didn't have to type up the agenda. I didn't have to go through and kind of summarize all the details to make sure everyone's on the same page. This makes sure that when we start this meeting, we are effective and efficiently running that meeting, can jump right to the to-dos and not make sure to go, well, what is this meeting about? What do we need to get into, and fish that information out. Popped in instantly, all from a click of the button with Copilot and Outlook. I find that very efficient to make sure that I'm prioritizing the most important stuff I need to do on the daily basis with these meetings and not kind of fish around to try to find out when meetings can occur and typing that all up. So very handy functionality that is not available on the classic version, but available on the new version of Outlook. I'll go ahead and discard that. Sidebar within Outlook, which, as you saw when I showed you the classic version of Teams, or classic version of Outlook, it wasn't available to you there. So let me go ahead and jump over to the new version and you can see what that looks like. So here I'm back into my new version of Outlook. You can see here by the slide bar up the top, and I have my email we're just looking at. At the top here, you have the Copilot emblem. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that Copilot emblem, which will then bring me the sidebar that slides over. This is very similar to what I've shown in the past when you have the Word version or something along those lines, where you have the actual Copilot up in the side. You can see here, here's Word with your Copilot sidebar. Very similar there, which those have always been available to you. It's available into Outlook right here. So the Copilot sidebar, you have different things that you can do. Prompts you can ask about the email you're within, or maybe something about the Outlook capability itself. So with this here, you can go ahead and understand key points about this email. So when I said understand the key points of this email, it is going to the email that I'm looking at right here and kind of categorize the information, sort of like the summary you had, and then you kind of interact with the questions, where with the summary, I couldn't interact with the question it was asking here. So it brings me all this information here, and then I can interact and ask some question about what it might find. So as you can see here, it was very long, so it's giving a whole bunch of information here that did not quite qualify, but it gave a lot of stuff here. You can also take a look at optional things. Class here. Click out of that. Go back to here. You can also click on this view prompts. Now, this view prompts is a very handy thing to look at because maybe you're trying to figure out what else I can do with Copilot with Outlook. And this gives you some suggestions of what to try. You can take a look at catch up, schedule, ask, do, understand within certain pieces here. So you can kind of look at what type of questions you potentially can do. Let's go ahead and catch up. Summarize Teams messages where you're mentioned this week. So you can really kind of play around with this and see what makes sense, as well as manage the plugins that come through here if you have other attachments coming through, or take a look at the Microsoft Copilot Labs that will give you some suggestions within there as well to kind of pop into Outlook to get some suggestions of how you might want to use the solution within Outlook and Copilot. So let's go ahead and take a look at within this, organizing your inbox with Copilot. So same thing here. So here we have the Copilot sidebar, which I clicked on right here to bring this sidebar down. And let's go ahead and try to manage my mailbox with this. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Copilot to create a rule. Let's go ahead and create a rule that when an Outlook comes from a specific individual, we want to add it to a certain folder. So create a rule in Outlook that moves messages from my Gmail account to the folder labeled demo. Go ahead and click the go button here. It will take this information and then come back, bring up the rule, set the rule exactly how I want it to have, and I can go ahead and add this and go from there. So I can actually easily create rules of how to manage my mailbox. I can categorize it a certain color. I can put it into a certain label, all from just typing in exactly what I want, and it brings up the information for me to accept it and go from there. So I find that very handy to use if you're not used to kind of knowing where to go within the Outlook framework to make sure you can set those items. And from there, you can just type in exactly what you want, hit the go button, and you're all set to help manage your Outlook on a daily basis. So I would say for me, my experience with Copilot and Outlook is one of my most used applications with Copilot today. Utilize it all the time. A lot of functionality, a way to summarize, streamline your daily task within Outlook itself, and make sure you kind of get set for what you need to do on your daily basis. Very handy. Now, the next piece is going into how to utilize Copilot with Teams. So Teams is another place where I use Copilot on a daily basis. Meeting preparations and scheduling. There's a lot of things you can do with Copilot and Teams together. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. So let's go ahead and go through a couple of different things of how to get there. Now with Copilot, you have a different thing. I'm in Outlook right here. If I wanted to, I can go ahead and click on the Copilot button right here, which brings up your Copilot assistant. You also had the Copilot sidebar, which is specifically for Outlook itself. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into Teams, bring up my Teams application here. Slide this over. All right, so here's my Teams application. So you can see here I got Copilot within Teams itself. And I got my calendar, which I can take through of all the calendar meetings I have, my Teams with all my chats, and my Copilot right here. So within Teams, I'm going to go ahead and ask, let's go ahead and view what's on my calendar for Monday. So I want to go ahead and take a look. It's Friday right now. Let's go ahead and see what's going on Monday to make sure I'm all set for the week, preparing for what I need to do a week ahead. And I'm going to go ahead, what's on my calendar, and I'm going to put in here, please hide names. So I'm going to go ahead and click the go button here, and it's going to look for my calendars, my calendar appointments, and find out what I have here on Monday. Great. So find out all the things I need to do on Monday so I can go ahead and get prepared ahead of time. So I see I have a meeting from finance. Let's go ahead and find out what that's about. Any notes I need to use for my 10 a.m. meeting on Monday, please hide the meeting ID. So if I didn't do that right there, it kind of gives some information about the meeting itself. I don't want to put into the webinar. But this way, if there's things attached to this meeting right here that I need to understand, gives me a link that I need to go to. And so if there was a notes section in here or some file I need to go to, I can open that up and be prepared for that meeting itself. Let's go ahead. Is there a file available for my 1:30 Monday to review? So I have a meeting at 1:30. Is there a file that I need to be aware of that might not be attached up there? So I'm gonna go ahead and look for this file. I have a change meeting coming up, and there is a template that is available for us to take a look at for that. So I'll go ahead and go into that template to act and find out what I need to do for that meeting itself. So I find this very handy and very fast to get a head look at what I'm going to be doing that day, and then jump into the tasks that I want to get into and find the file that's relevant for that meeting itself. Now, the next thing in here is the enhanced communication and meeting efficiency. Now, I think this right here is probably, I would say, the most widely used aspect of Teams and Copilot today. The ability to have a 15, 30 hour, 2 hour long meeting within Teams and everyone that's involved in it, and then easily summarize all the information that happened within that meeting itself. Ability to go back and find out what occurred at that meeting at what time and ask questions about what the next task is going to be. Very, very powerful. So let's go ahead and take a look what that looks like. So I'm going to jump into my calendar within Teams, and I'm going to go to my weekly meetings that I have with my team. So the key aspect of this, of course, is you need to have the transcript and recording happening for Microsoft Copilot to work correctly and give you the most information about what meetings are occurring. So when you start a meeting, you see sometimes you can start the recording and transcript. If you have Copilot, that will give you the most relevant information about what's going on with your teams in Outlook and Teams meeting itself. If you do not record, the only thing Copilot will be able to go off of is if there's any chats happening within the meeting itself, because it does provide a little bit of a transcript. So it will correlate that information and bring it up to you, but you'll miss all the text, all the talk that's going on from the transcript itself. So I find it very important if you have reoccurring meetings, which I can show you how to do this in a second, is to set those reoccurring meetings up to automatically start the record so you don't forget to do it halfway through and you've missed being able to go back and find out what was said during that meeting, kind of look back and ask questions. So now that I got done going through that aspect of it, I'm in a Teams meeting that I had earlier this week, and there's a button called Recap right here. When I click on Recap, it has AI notes that gives me notes about what occurred during that meeting in a nice, concise way. It gives me ideas of what the follow-up tasks are going to be and what we talked about during this week itself. We have a notes section. Now, the notes section is something that you could have been typing along during the way. We do like to use Loop for this. If you guys watched my last webinar, went all about how you can utilize Loop, highly powerful when you're utilizing meetings. Definitely should give it a try. Things to note right here, though, Microsoft Copilot for 365 does give you the ability to have the AI notes section in here. However, the AI notes section here is available to people that are utilizing Teams Premium for $10 a month. So there's a potential if you only want to get this AI notes generated to you within your Teams meeting, you can actually utilize a $10 license a month to get this information right here. That's not the full $30 for Copilot. Now, there's a lot of stuff that comes with a $30 for Copilot, but if this is the only function you want to try out, you can have a lower cost step into this to give it a try to make sure it makes sense to you. And if it does, great. If you want to enhance it, you can utilize Microsoft Copilot and go from there and then pay the $30 instead of 10. But I definitely recommend if you're just curious about this one aspect, you can utilize Microsoft Teams premium license today for $10 to get this aspect right here. The other piece that's really nice is you have the mentions. With the mentions, you come in here and take a look at the mentions that were people said your name and kind of click right on a button and go exactly to where it was within that meeting itself. So that part is all very nice. But the piece with Copilot right here, let's go ahead and go to Copilot. I can ask information about this meeting itself. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and please recap this meeting. With people's names and company names hidden on this. And so as that's looking, I can take a look at other things that are going on and come back into my Copilot and it will start bringing it up. And you can see here, it brought up all the information about what I talked about during this meeting itself. It gives me the ability to jump into specific parts of the transcript to actually find out if that was accurate or if I want to take a look more at that information itself. The other thing I like about it is we can come in here and go into what open tasks were created from this meeting. So there's a lot of stuff that gets talked about in this meeting. Is there open tasks I need to be aware of? And then it will give me a list of all the tasks that we want to go through to make sure that we captured everything possible. And then we create to-dos from this to make sure that we're all set. Maybe put it into a loop, like I said, and create the task category to make sure it hits people's calendar, Outlook, and it's all synchronized from there. So very handy aspect of utilizing Microsoft Copilot for 365 for Teams, specifically with just getting enhanced collaboration, enhanced communication, and efficiency with all your team's meetings. The last thing you want to have is 10, 15, 5, 2 people in a meeting for an hour long talking about all this great stuff, and then it just goes into nowhere. This way, it encapsulates everything you're talking about, keeps it in the transcript, and you can ask questions in the to-dos and follow-ups and take action items after it in an easy and seamless fashion. The other piece of it is, just like I showed you a little bit right here, review meetings and recap if you could not attend. If I could not have attended that meeting and my team ran with it and went through all the wonderful things they did the week prior, I can go ahead and give me a summarize of that meeting, exactly what I just did right there. And from there, I can get a good insight of what occurred. And if you saw as well, there was some links I could click to and click exactly to those moments in time within that meeting itself to really get an understanding of what was said, what exactly occurred at that moment in time to really catch me up on that meeting instead of just kind of watching from start to finish. It allows me to get to the specific information, find out potentially what was said about me. I can go into there and say, hey, there's a task that was assigned to myself and understand how it was said to make sure that I accomplished that task in a timely and efficient and correct manner. The other thing I like about it is the sentiment meaning analysis and topic tracking. So I can come back in here and ask questions of how was the tone of this meeting? Is there anything I should be worried about? So I'm going to go ahead and ask the question, how was the tone of this meeting? Anything I should be worried about? And of course, please hide the people's names. And the tone was meeting. It was collaborative. It was positive. It was collaborative. Kind of goes into some information. So here as well, kind of gets me some key points of what people might have said. And if there's anything I should be worried about, it maybe people not working well together from its understanding of the sentiment analysis. And then I can take action from there and jump into that right spot. The other piece here, I can go, hey, did we stay on track? Did it really kind of focus on what we were supposed to talk about during this meeting in time? And I can ask questions, please, did we stay on track during this meeting? Yes, the meeting stayed on track and cover the planned agenda effectively and the key points going into this. So I can really kind of hone in as the project, the meeting owner and make sure that this was done in a collaborative type fashion and make sure that we are keeping things on track by asking simple questions directly through Copilot itself. Now with Microsoft Copilot for 365 as well, a little bit off the track with just the meeting pieces of it, you can customize draft messages in Teams and channels. So what that means is I can come into my Teams and go into my channels. And here's my channel. I got a post. So I can go ahead, either start a post or reply to a post. And when I start a post, it allows me to type in test post. Maybe I'm trying to figure out what I want to say here. So this is what I was talking about with Copilot within the channel, within the post. I can click on this button right here, which is slightly hidden. I think should be a Copilot emblem. We'll see. But if you hover over this little emblem right here, it says Copilot, which I find is a different look from the other Copilot ones. It looks a little bit more like the draft in Outlook, which kind of makes sense. But I do think it's kind of hidden. So right here, you can put in here what you want to write. So kind of make a suggestion of what you want to get out of it. This is a Copilot channel right here. So it could be, hey, take a look at this webinar that I did back in February. Please post any updates or anything you think I should have talked about during that time, and it'll go ahead and create that post for me within the Teams channel. You can do the same thing within your chat as well. You can bring up the chat and ask it to actually create a automatic response, adjust the tone, adjust the length, the format of it, and kind of go from there. So it allows you to start kind of doing the same thing you had within Outlook of doing the drafts within your chats as well as in your team channels. And last but not least, you have the ability to modify and access the AI generate insight based on transcripts. Now, what does that mean? So I'm going to come back into my meeting here. And as I mentioned, this is a good thing to do at the beginning of all recurring meetings, is making sure you understand what's going to happen with that meeting once you start going through it. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my product meeting and come up here and go into my meeting options. And with the meeting options, it gives me a lot of different things to know about the meeting itself, of how it's being set up. So, record and transcript. This is what I talked about a little bit earlier. Record and transcript automatically. Typically, this is defaulted to no. I set the meetings I use on a recurrent basis to always be set to yes. This way, I never forget to hit the record button. Happens right at the beginning. The other key part of this is, as you're setting these recordings, maybe there's some people in the meeting that you don't want to have access to utilize Copilot against, or for them to view the transcript. So who has access to recording and transcript? You can click this and say meeting organizers, specific people, and really shrink down who has the access level to look back at these videos, look back at the transcript, and gain that insight. So for the most part, everything we talk about in the meeting, I want everyone to view, but there could be use cases of where you don't want that to occur, and you can specifically set the security level the way you want it, the way you need to have it as an organization, and set it right at the meeting level. And if it's a recurring meeting, that security will pick up the exact same way every time. So definitely recommend taking a look at your meeting options out there to make sure the meeting level is set exactly how you want it. So a lot of different options in here. I believe we did a Teams webinar in the June, July timeframe that gets a little into each one of these options. Recommend checking out to make sure your team's meetings are set the way you need to do. And I think that might be all we have for you today. So really, in conclusion, Microsoft Copilot for 365 is a revolutionary tool that's designed to enhance collaboration effectively within Teams and Outlook. By leveraging AI, Copilot helps users save time, stay organized, and communicate more effectively. As Microsoft continues to innovate and expand Copilot's capabilities, the future looks promising for even more impactful and intelligent productivity solutions. Join us on this journey with Microsoft Copilot and reach out to us at Ntiva if you have any questions or are curious about how you can transform the way you work and bring tomorrow's future to you today. Thank you very much for attending this webinar, and look forward to talking to you next month. I believe we're going to be talking about Copilot again, and specifically getting into Word and Excel. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.